And by the way, he's implying that this is all just a joke to him. So he responded to the Atlantic article with a little crying face, saying they're the past, the legacy media fading into obscurity. He doesn't care at all. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, he's feeling great. Seeing the opinion polls show a significant chunk of the American public that still liked him even as recently as December now hate his guts. Yeah, he's actually secretly laughing somewhere right now. But anyway, we are out of time, Brett. We are gonna do our members' content. We're gonna talk a little bit about Howard Lutnick trying to reassure everyone that they don't have to worry about tariffs jacking up the price of things just in time for Trump to announce massive new tariffs on the EU, which I love. So we're gonna do that together, but thank you for joining us on the Damage Report.
Thanks for being me here.
Thank you. And I'm gonna be on the first hour of the Young Turks later on today with Cenk and I believe Waz. So it should be a lot of fun. Definitely join us there. For now, stay safe out there, stay sane out there. We'll see you soon.
Welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Reecie. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today, breaking down news of the day. None other than the incomparable Miss Reecie Colbert, SiriusXM host extraordinaire, Reecie Colbert Show. Make sure you check it out. All right, top story of the day. Hell of a thing. Trump will lie when the truth will do. Trump lies again. I don't know, I guess this is some kind of new format. Lies again in front of a national leader in his office, it has become. South African president is the national leader. Here it is.
And this is all, I'll give these to you.
We're gonna now go to Daniel Dale because there is a lot to unpack here. Let's just start with what we believe is happening there. I mean, you see the president holding up what he says is evidence of what he claims is genocide, as David Chalian said, and I want you to add to this. Those are unsubstantiated claims. What he did by bringing a video into the Oval Office, televisions just aren't hanging out in the Oval Office. This was a very scripted, strategic move. And what they played looked like some kind of video which you could hear the president saying, this is proof of, President Trump saying this is proof of genocide. And the South African president was kind of forced to figure out how to play it on the fly. And I believe I heard him saying something like, we'll look into it.
President Cyril Ramaphosa, he doesn't know what to do here, man. I mean, Trump is a liar. You just gotta say that. It's the only way to deal with this cat. All right, let's go to it. Put it up full mass. Individuals who come to the White House typically come in good faith, but there is no good faith extended by the commander and wannabe dictator. So as part of his ambush during Wednesday's visit of the South African president, Donald Trump provided what he said was actual proof that South Africa was engaged in genocide against white farmers. But it turns out one of the photos shown by Trump himself during his multimedia presentation was actually taken in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which is located in southern Africa. But it is not part in any shape, form, or fashion of South Africa, led by the black man who is their president sitting next to Donald Trump. Now, for MAGA, I know you don't give a damn, all black people are basically the same. But I will say this very clearly. Donald Trump can barely figure out how the American map works, evidenced by his blunders on air, let alone how, well, another continent may work. So the photo, screen grab, by the way, from a video taken in February showing Red Cross workers responding after women were sexually assaulted and burned alive during a mass jailbreak in the city of Goma. This was part of a contentious presentation that ultimately seemed more about embarrassing the president of South Africa than getting to a substantial solution. Trump claimed he was turning a blind eye to a mass killing of white farmers that is actually not happening. We've covered this in detail at Indisputable. There was little conversation between the two leaders. The meeting was dominated by Trump and his false claims, kind of the way he leads the presidency here. Trump followers have clung hard to the Trump administration's lies, and this is why he does it. About South Africa, part of a wider narrative of white victimhood that also strains, well, the credibility. One photo is not going to change their mind about the so-called genocide, which paved the way for resettlement of 59 refugees. They call them the colonizers who are currently in Africa, whose ancestors engaged in apartheid. So, quote, he may have got that wrong. Doesn't necessarily cancel out all the rest, wrote one MAGA devotee. Similarly, when Palestinians were caught posing with dolls as babies, it doesn't mean there are no killings taking place in Gaza. Quote, yes, it's time to recognize that white people can get mistreated also, she continued. Where do I start? Okay. So according to Trump, it is okay to produce false evidence in order to make your case. A case that, if true, you should have ample actual evidence to be available, presented, etc. But you don't. You're the president of the United States of America. I'm sure you have access to a drone or two that could take pictures if actual genocide was happening, rather than depending on screen grabs from, let's say, a social media account that simply has doctored a photo for you. You've done this more than once, Donald Trump. MAGA, however, they don't really care about evidence. They never have. They don't care about the Constitution, evidenced by the fact they tried to overturn it in their attempted terrorist attack. But MAGA was not swayed. They were also unmoved by billionaire South African businessman Johan Peter Rupert, who tried to assure the president that there were no white genocide. There was no white genocide taking place in his country. Rupert was part of the delegation who accompanied the South African president to the Oval Office. Quote, it's interesting that my European friends have been talking about this situation for quite a while world media has ignored it, coming from a MAGA voice. But hey, let's believe the billionaire. I thought we were supposed to hate billionaires. You guys got to make your damn minds up now. I mean, one day you love the billionaire, the next day you hate them. Did you realize Trump told you he was a billionaire, likely lied about it, but that's what he said he was. You elected him, billionaire from New York, going to rescue the deep, deep Southern discrimination against white people. This is a money grab, MAGA. You got to stop falling for this. If you voted for Donald Trump because you believed that he would deliver your bigoted agenda, at least today you know that cannot be true any longer. Here's why. The tariffs are indiscriminate, right? So you're hurting now. Those layoffs, a whole lot of white women got laid off too. You're hurting. You voted for Trump. The farmers, your subsidies are gone. They're dealing with farmers, white farmers in Africa better than they're dealing with you. So understand, you have been betrayed. You have been betrayed. Now I get it, as long as you thought that people who look like me were losing, you were okay with it. I'm willing to let that go as long as you are willing to tell the damn truth today. You voted for a tyrant. You voted for a man that could care less about you. You said yes to all of his cronies, including his other billionaire oligarchs like Elon Musk and the gang. They have all betrayed you because they never loved you. Hell, they don't even like you. They would not take a coffee, beer, or anything with you. Never. Well, not all billionaires are hated by MAGA. South African native Elon Musk, according to reports, the world's richest man and a key Trump ally, has been making the white genocide claim for several months. While he has not always used the term directly, his public statements, social media activity, and the behavior of his AI chatbot have amplified the allegation against his home country despite a lack of credible evidence. And speaking of lack of evidence, here's what Scott Jennings had to say.
How many white farmers have been murdered in
I don't
South
know,
Africa?
several. I mean, they asked.
No, how many? How many?
I don't know, several.
I know why you don't know. Because those numbers don't exist broken down by race.
I mean, I know this. I wouldn't trust the South African government to tell me. I know that.
How many black farmers have been murdered in South Africa?
Look, you guys are so triggered over 59 people.
There are 19,000 murders in South Africa. 36 were on farms. 7 of the farmers were victims. Okay, this is according to the South African police.
And you think the South African government is a credible source?
The other 29, hold on a second. The 29 victims who were included in the farm killings were farm employees who tend to be Black. So the vast majority of people killed on farms in South Africa are Black. Where is the concern about them?
The concern is that there are white farmers who have had violence committed against them, and they're being threatened. They're being threatened every single day. There's 59 people,
hold on a second.
And you're triggered about 59 people, and I don't know why.
I haven't mentioned anything about 59 people.
Substantiate
why are you only concerned about white people?
Put it a full mass. Miss Abby Phillip, I know you're trying this, sister, and obviously you have to tolerate this nut. But the question stands, Scott, why are you only so concerned about white people? Ironically, the average white person in South Africa is doing very well because of apartheid. That's why, okay? On CNN's Newsnight, Abby Phillip grew extremely irritated with the rhetoric coming from the right. She flat out posed the question to conservative commentator Scott Jennings, quote, "Why are you only concerned with white people?" question. Jennings replied, quote, "I'm only concerned about this story because these 59 people asked for status. They're getting status, and now everybody's freaking out about it." He then said, if there was no threat to white South Africans, then why are they trying to get out? Scott, they're trying to get out because South Africa is utilizing common sense to create an equitable societal construct, and they don't like it. Now they would like to utilize the leverage of the United States of America, i.e. Donald Trump and his other cronies, in order to pressure the South African government to do their bidding, while at the same time these same individuals are applying for land rights and mineral rights to dig for valuable minerals in South Africa at the same time. All right. Sister, I know you have a lot to say about this. Reecie, what's on your mind?
Well, first of all, I do have to say there's one silver lining in these Afrikaners being granted asylum in the United States. It's punishment in and of itself. These people are so delusional that I read one person left a 5-bedroom home on beautiful land, left their dog behind, left their mama behind to come over here and be holed up in a roach motel on the side of a highway.
Wow.
So you're so delusional about this fake persecution. He said that he got threats in a WhatsApp a message. I get more threats on Instagram than he probably got on WhatsApp. And I'm not fleeing my home, my beautiful home, to go be in somebody's roach motel in another country. And so there is some sort of poetic justice that these people who are such peasants that they cannot even hack it with the spoils of apartheid, that they think they're going to come over here and make it in America. They got another thing coming for them. But as far as Donald Trump, what's even more troubling about the fact that he's a liar is that he's also a propagandist. And he's a propagandist with the nuclear codes. He's the propagandist who's the commander in chief, who is the biggest weapon against our economy and against our healthcare system. And every single policy, I pointed this out on your show before, Dr. Reecie, is based on a lie. And even worse, he has an administration that is propping up propaganda and making really horrible decisions that adversely impacts everybody who's not a billionaire. Based on what? It's irrational, and yet it has the full support from the administration. This kind of lie in a blog post, the president was repeating a blog post, not a report from the CIA, not a report from any of the intelligence officials, any of the assessments. In fact, they tell them to undo the assessments when they don't say what they want to say. This is a national and international embarrassment, and Donald Trump is a joke. He was a joke to the South African president, who was really besting him without Donald Trump even having a clue. And he's a joke around the world. And unfortunately, the joke is on us.
Yeah, that's true. And I actually appreciated how the South African president dealt with it. He actually laughed at Trump multiple times. It was just hilarious to sit there and watch this show. We're going to bring you updates as they come. We got more on the other side, taking a quick break. Indisputable, stick and stay. Indisputable, exclusive, disputable, exclusive. We brought you this first. No other news agency has this video. No other news agency has this story.
Every week on Indisputable, we do original, exclusive, investigative reporting you'll find nowhere else.
Our reports have been viewed by millions. Hosted by Sean King, Ben Crump, Senator John Ossoff.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
We catching these cases on camera. Just imagine the things that we don't see.
Our groundbreaking investigations and exclusive interviews bring you the real voices no one else wants you to hear. We tell the stories.
Imagine a prison that is so racist, the corrections officers contact me. That is a life or death situation being created. A black woman who was driving for Uber was allegedly assaulted by a white male passenger. After we got involved, roughly 24 hours later, the police all of a sudden opened up an investigation. What was going through your mind when bullets were simply flying inside of your vehicle?
Honestly, I thought I was going to die.
Did these officers ever say that you fit the description of somebody they were looking for? Did they say that?
Never.
Okay, that means they lied.
And we want you to be part of our truth-telling movement. Send pictures and video of stories no one else is telling and a 1 or 2 paragraph summary of the story to Indisputable's exclusive tip line at indvideos@tyt.com.
If you have more information about what's happening at this particular facility, please let me know.
Together, we're challenging the system, and together, we're making a difference.
I have the entire background to this story, and it is going to make your blood boil.
Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, unveiling the truth, empowering the people. Weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with every single one of you. Our sister Reecie has a lot going on. We want to make sure that you know exactly how to connect with her and how to meet her at an upcoming event. Reecie, take it away.
Well, it's funny, Dr. Ritchie, you mentioned that because my good dear friend Clay Kane and I are going back on the road for our Beyond the Mic tour. It is at this point, 5-city tour. And so Clay and Reecie live.eventbrite.com is where you can get all the information about that. And then I have my Am I Tripping game. Remember, Dr. Ritchie, I talked about that on your show before. It's coming back. I have the second edition of it. And this time, it is a trivia game as well as a conversation game. So it is twice the fun. AmITrippingGame.com is where you can find that. And then my show is on Sirius XM Urban View Saturdays, 2 to 4 p.m. live Eastern time. I take calls. It's a great time. It's like the cookout. It's barbecue on a Saturday, but through the radio.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love your creativity and your continued leadership. Thank you for your advocacy, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Y'all make sure you check her out. Okay, we got a lot of comments. I'll read as many as I can. Lynn says, I sometimes have difficulty determining if Trump is lying or just stupid, perhaps a little bit of both, a whole lot of both, actually. A whole lot of both. And yeah, I agree. Jamal G says the Oval Office became a festival of Karens and bozos. Yeah. Michelle King Hart, thank you. Sent one indisputable membership. Greatly appreciate that. And Chi Massey, member for 34 months, double doser, says Reecie is on now. That's right. And Stephanie Haynes, thank you, Stephanie, for that. Remember the cab driver in Coming to America that yelled, "You dumb." My same thought anytime Trump opens his mouth. Happy Friday, Doc. Happy Friday to you. Yeah, he did. So Civic_Follow86 says the South African president dealt with it like a pro. Damn sure did. Absolutely did. And Roll_saying if the South African president would have asked nicely for Trump to read to him any one of those articles, Trump would not do it. That would have been so priceless, man. Missed opportunity there. All right, but you put it in the ether. It may happen next go around. Okay, appreciate that. All right. Trump administration and their pettiness, they have now banned foreign students from enrolling at Harvard University. This is to make an example of Harvard. Harvard is standing strong so far. Put it up full mass. I will give you the explanation. Now, as a college professor, this story and stories like it hit home for me because these become policies that everyone has to follow. These become adverse and illegal policies, in my opinion. Harvard University has stepped up and is suing the Trump administration over their ban on enrolling foreign students. The Ivy League school calls the administration's decision unconstitutional retaliation for defying the White House's demands last month. This is just the latest front in a long conservative war against academia. Now, I want to remind everyone what the Constitution says. The Constitution is very clear. You have freedom of speech. You have freedom of assembly. You have these freedoms, and the government cannot punish you for disagreeing with its ideology, their goals, whatever it may be. Donald Trump is literally taking that and destroying the clause, so much so that even Candace Owens has come out against the current president and his administration, saying this is clearly a violation of the Constitution. Ladies and gentlemen, hell has frozen over when I can agree with a Candace Owens. Now, the administration has gone from eliminating Harvard's federal grants, targeting its tax-exempt status, now halting its ability to enroll international students, and roughly 1/4 of the students are international students. So Harvard University announced on Friday morning that it was challenging the Trump administration's decision to bar the Ivy League school from enrolling foreign students, calling it unconstitutional retaliation for the school previously defying the White House's political demands. In a lawsuit filed in federal court, this was the Boston circuit, Harvard said the government's actions violate the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution and will have an immediate and devastating effect for Harvard and more than 7,000 visa holders. In the lawsuit, Harvard stated, quote, with the stroke of a pen, the government has sought to erase 1/4 of Harvard's student body, international students who contribute significantly to Harvard University and its mission. So there's a file for a temporary restraining order to block the Department of Homeland Security from carrying out the move. Harvard enrolls almost 6,800 foreign students. There's another report that says it's a little more than 7,000. Most are graduate students and come from more than 100 countries. Harvard made an official statement, quote, the government's action is unlawful. We are fully committed to maintaining Harvard's ability to host our international students and scholars who hail from more than 140 countries and enrich the university and this nation immeasurably. We are working quickly to provide guidance and support to members of our community. This retaliatory action threatens serious harm to the Harvard community and our country and undermines Harvard's academic and research mission. Okay, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has been at the helm of this effort to take down Harvard because Trump's ghouls hate education. So Kristi Noem posted this and the letter to Harvard on, obviously on X. This administration is holding Harvard accountable for fostering violence, anti-Semitism, and coordinating with the Chinese Communist Party on its campus. It is a privilege, not a right, for universities to enroll students and benefit from their higher tuition payments to help pad their multi-billion-dollar endowments. Harvard had plenty of opportunity to do the right thing. It refused. They have lost their student and exchange program, visitor program certification as a result of their failure to adhere to the law. Let this serve as a warning to all universities. That's the point right there. Let this serve as a warning to all universities and academic institutions across the country. Here is what the letter contained. Quote, this action should not surprise you and is the unfortunate result of Harvard's failure to comply with simply reporting requirements. Consequences must follow to send a clear signal to Harvard and all universities that want to enjoy the privilege of enrolling foreign students that the Trump administration will enforce the law and root out the evils of anti-Americanism. Put her picture back up again. Anti-Americanism, you say. Were you being anti-American when you called almost half of this nation's citizens liberal tyrants? Were you anti-American when you decided to categorize those on the left as individuals who were barely worthy of being able to vote, or you signed off on comments and statements by your colleagues who said the same in a political contest? And if we're going to be honest, it's actually okay to be anti-American in your commentary. It's called free speech, madam. The freedom of speech. It is a rule, a law, a statute that you are supposed to uphold. You guys got to get your story straight, because Trump is saying this is because of anti-Semitism. You're saying it's because of anti-Americanism. I'm saying actually both are not illegal. You may not like it. That's the point. You have a right. You may not like it. I don't like all speech, but you have a right to say it. And also I have the right to respond to it. So this is, extreme what you all are doing. And utilizing Harvard as a proxy to every other university in the United States of America, well, that's the plan that you all are embarking on. So I'm saying for folks who may not even rock with Harvard got to win this one. Harvard has to win this one, because if Harvard doesn't win this one by proxy, all of the other universities, well, they lose out too, and we have to continue to fight this fight. These individuals are intentionally destroying the United States of America, and don't think it stops with just the foreign students being able to enroll or certain money being withheld. No, they are coming after accreditation. They're coming after your federal aid. They're coming after your Pell Grants. They're coming after all of it. Every bit of it. They're going to take it away until you do the bidding of Trump University and nobody else. All right, Reecie, thoughts here?
Well, Dr. Reecie, I mean, you point out something very important. Even if people don't rock with Harvard, see what this administration has been doing is they have strategically picked targets that people in their base and a large portion of the country are unsympathetic to. People look at Harvard as a wealthy elite institution that they can't relate to, so they're not connecting the dots on how this assault on Harvard is an assault on higher education. It's also an assault on science. It's an assault on research. This administration has cut the science budget by 50%. It is at its lowest level ever. So this is just one symptom of their assault on what drives our economy. Donald Trump is tariffing the hell out of the world to bring back manufacturing jobs. Like Steve Madden said the other day, we don't want to be in factories building socks. We want to be at the forefront of research. We want to be at the forefront of medical advances, of climate change, combating climate change. So this is just one of those things where people look at it and they like, well, it ain't got nothing to do with me. I didn't go to Harvard. I didn't get into Harvard or whatever. And they think that this is a non-issue. The other part I think is important for people to understand is, yes, Harvard is incredibly powerful. They have the best lawyers. They have a massive endowment. They are a prestigious institution. But there are real consequences for the individual foreign students that are impacted by this. The way that their status is revoked in limbo, not in limbo. We know that this administration does not adhere to judicial rulings on not deporting people, on honoring the status that judges have bestowed on people before. And so a lot of people are going to make the calculation, I don't want to be snatched off of the streets of Cambridge trying to go to work or trying to go to school. This isn't worth it. And it's going to create a brain drain. The point of it is also cruelty. And the point of it is to just shake everybody into compliance. I know that 77 million people went to vote for Donald Trump, but they did not vote for him to be the new chancellor or dean of Harvard. He's supposed to be working on gas prices, on egg prices, and on everything else that he has no interest in doing except for making it worse for everybody else, not Harvard.
That's right. And that's the compelling point, right? That everything he said he would fix, he hasn't fixed, hasn't paid attention to. And if you voted for Trump because you believe that he could fix these things, you have to agree now he can't fix them and he's not interested in fixing them. All right, we'll bring you updates as they come. Okay, well, racist woman gets on a bus, uses racial slurs, swears it's not based on racism. Hell of a thing. Let's go to it.
Sit the down. Ain't none of y'all gonna do shit. Record it for mama. I live over here. Send her.
Yeah, there you go. Put it up full mass here. So I'm taking you to North Carolina. A white mother hopped on a school bus and unleashed a profanity-laced tirade, including a racial slur directed at a Black student. 35-year-old Samantha Danielle Spohr has now been charged with trespassing, disorderly conduct, communicating threats, and impeding a school bus. Samantha Danielle Spohr barged onto a Moyock Middle School bus May 15th in what witnesses described as an unhinged explosion of rage directed towards a group of stunned middle schoolers. Quote, "Record it for your mother mama. Send her effing N-word," the woman shouted before stomping off the bus per the video. Let's put a picture back up. Now, madam, I'm not telling you what to do with life, but there's another white woman just did the same thing. She got about $700,000, $800,000 by way of bigoted funding, and maybe you're attempting to do the same. I just want to remind you that you will memorialize this moment in ways that your children, grandchildren, and their children will have to suffer through. The target of Miss Spohr's venom was a 13-year-old child named Savannah Bailey. Savannah told the outlet that she was actually shocked at the way the woman spoke to her and said she was raised not to take disrespect, though she chose not to say anything in the moment. Her parents told the outlet the woman's behavior was uncalled for. Quote, "To have a parent step on my child's bus these days and times, you don't know what could have happened," said the girl's mother, Christina Bailey, WJHL News. The girl's father said he's not sure if he wants her to ride that bus route home anymore. The bus driver, who can be seen sitting in the front, did not stop Ms. Spohr from getting on board of that bus, nor did they speak up during the confrontation. The county school system says it's now conducting a full review of bus security. So I do have questions about enforcement here. Why would a bus driver who knows obviously you have to be an advocate for students and we trust you with that, why would you say absolutely nothing and allow this adult to enter, become aggressive, and basically threaten the safety of children. So I need to get answers on that. Naturally, this is something that this young lady says she was shocked to experience, likely the first time she's experienced something like this. And these things are being reported more and more on this show and other shows. They're doing this to children. You have to understand, children, these are children. These are children, these are kids, these are babies, okay? They are actively utilizing the N-word toward children, regardless of what the conflict may have ever been. That is never an appropriate response from an adult. I think the charges are quite light, to be honest with you. All right, Reecie, thoughts here?
Well, Dr. Reecie, I agree with you. She's probably trying to pull another stunt, like the other woman. I won't even dignify her by naming her. And you know what? Sometimes, look, put the cameras down and go to work. No face, no case. So, you know, I'm glad to at least see some sort of charges, but she certainly sounds unrepentant, and like this is a pattern of behavior for her. So, you know, she alleges that her son was being bullied. Well, is your son calling people the N-word? You know, so there's obviously a problematic behavior that's originating from the mother, and people defending themselves from being called the N-word is not bullying. It's called leave people the hell alone or expect the consequences from it.
That's right. And those who utilize the N-word are attempting to bully themselves, and being responded to is not bullying. All right, we got more on the other side. Indisputable, stick and stay.
Indisputable, exclusive, disputable, exclusive. We brought you this first. No other news agency has this video. No other news agency has this story.
Every week on Indisputable, we do original, exclusive, investigative reporting you'll find nowhere else.
Our reports have been viewed by millions. Hosted by Sean King, Ben Crump, Senator John Ossoff.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
We catching these cases on camera. Just imagine the things that we don't see.
Our groundbreaking investigations and exclusive interviews bring you the real voices no one else wants you to hear. We tell the stories.
Imagine a prison that is so racist, the corrections officers contact me. That is a life or death situation being created. A black woman who was driving for Uber was allegedly assaulted by a white male passenger. After we got involved, roughly 24 hours later, the police all of a sudden opened up an investigation. What was going through your mind when bullets were simply flying inside of your vehicle?
Honestly, I thought I was going to die.
Did these officers ever say that you fit the description of somebody they were looking for? Did they say that?
Never.
Okay, that means they lied.
And we want you to be part of our truth-telling movement. Send pictures and video of stories no one else is telling and a 1 or 2 paragraph summary of the story to Indisputable's exclusive tip line at indvideos@tyt.com.
If you have more information about what's happening at this particular facility, please let me know.
Together, we're challenging the system, and together, we're making a difference.
I have the entire background to this story, and it is going to make your blood boil.
Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, unveiling the truth, empowering the people. Weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. Happy Friday to everyone. The big homie, no stranger to Indisputable. He comes here once a month or so. sits down with us for an hour and a half and breaks it down with us. Rickey Smiley is back after more than a decade away from stand-up. He is coming back. The comedy legend and beloved radio host has returned to the world of stand-up, and he is funnier than ever, I promise you. Long-awaited new comedy special, Fool-ish, will officially debut Hulu, May 30th. May 30th, marking Smiley's first time back on stand-up since 2011, all right? Smiley, the voice behind the #1 nationally syndicated Rickey Smiley Morning Show, is returning to his roots in a way that feels both nostalgic and refreshed. Taping at the historic Lyric Theater in his hometown of Birmingham, Alabama. It is vibrant with storytelling, character work, hilarious reflections on life, family, pop culture, etc. I remember many years ago, I got to see Rickey stand up at Albany State University down in South Georgia. It was hilarious. I mean, he had all those students rolling. And we were blessed to hear such nuggets of wisdom inside of that. But I want to show you a trailer. Here it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, comedy legend Rickey Smiley! Y'all watch my 600-pound life? Bruh, you see the episode when the lady couldn't fit in the bathroom? He had to take her outside and get her a bath. He out here washing her like she a Dodge Charger. The closest thing we had to a handheld shower was that rubber orange bag hanging up over the bathroom. You washing your hair, putting it in your mouth, going to school smelling like vinegar. I'm like, oh Lord, you like that, huh? Take a feather, run it from her head to her toe. If she don't move, get up and go home. She got roaches.
Like a Dodge Charger. Always going to be hilarious. All right, so make sure you check it out. All right, May 30th, Hulu. Okay, and we'll have Rickey on after the debut. We'll talk about it. Okay, all right. We got a lot of viewer comments. I'll read as many as I can and get back to the show. I thank everyone for joining the conversation. Yeah, I think this is it Salivy Dragon? How they are getting away with this is just flat out denying student visas, which I don't think is a First Amendment protection. So Harvard is going to have to play chess with these fools. Yeah, their argument is going to be that basically because of their right to oppose political speech, they are being disciplined by the government for such opposition. I think that's going to be the gist of it. Over 9,000 into the dragon. Victim mentality has become a way of life for certain groups of Americans. I know it's intentional, but here it's being used to create a culture of hatred and join it with a hatred already present. Talking about the woman that entered the bus, and I agree. All right, that's something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Are you legally here in this country?
Am I what? What's your name?
Ellsworth, Kip Ellsworth. I'm just asking if you're legally here.
Why are you asking me that? Why are you asking me that?
Because there's
Why are you asking me that?
Because there's a lot of people that are working here in Heber right now that are working here, and they're not legal. They're not legal.
Okay, and why are you asking me that?
Because don't they? Okay. Then you answered my question. Thank you very much.
I'm asking you a question. No, I'm asking you a question. Why are you asking me that?
I'm asking you that because I just wanted to know, because you're working here.
Why are you asking me that?
I'm having a problem with Walmart.
Okay, and Walmart, not me. Why are you asking me that?
Because if you're here illegally, you shouldn't be working here.
Yeah, sir, I'm sure your family told you one day you were going to end up on Indisputable if you kept this mess up. Today is your day. Put them up full mass. So let me get this correct. You go around to random individuals who you believe may possibly not be in the United States legally. The poster of the video wrote on TikTok, quote, asking me if I'm legal here just because he has a problem with Walmart. Why didn't he ask someone else who's not of color? The lies these Karens would tell, Mr. Mayor Karen, if you don't mind, I'll call you that. The lies they would tell when confronted with a reasonable question can be quite inventive, quite creative. Here's the reality, sir. Number one, there is no person God has made that's illegal, so I do not call anyone illegal anything. Number two, let's just say somebody looks at you and says, yeah, I don't have my papers. What you gonna do about it? Because that's what I would tell you. If you ever approach me, I'd say, yeah, I'm completely illegal. So what the hell you gonna do? Nothing, not a damn thing. Go call somebody. And just keeping with the trend here, are you doing this because of the Trump administration? Because of the hatred that they're spewing nationally and internationally? I mean, what is giving you this new demand of freedom papers? Because that's what it is, another version of that. All right, Reecie, here we go. We got another mail, Karen. This is an opportunity we do at Indisputable for reflection and correction. It's a public service that we provide for the country.
Right. I think that people need to understand, white people to whom this applies, you are not our overseers. You do not get to go around like you have some sort of self-vested authority to ask people about anything that ain't got nothing to do with you. Unless you're sitting up here, if I ask you, who did you vote for? How much money you got in your tax returns? What's your blood pressure?
Right.
Hello, if you won't answer any of those questions, then don't ask me about nothing I got going on. But this is the kind of behavior that's empowered by this administration. This is why you have communities where people are putting around flyers, creating hotlines to report people, which is racial profiling, that they think might not be here legally. The reality is these people actually don't care about the legality of people's presence here in the United States. They don't feel like anybody here that doesn't fit their view of who has value in this world should have citizenship. So papers or not, what they're telling you is you don't belong. And guess what? They don't have the authority to determine that. Like you said, God does.
That's right. There you go. All right. Well, hell of a thing. We got an update. All right. So a right-wing reporter asked the Chicago mayor, why are you racist? Here it is.
Real Chicagoans want to know, why are you a racist?
Well, first of all, I reject the idea and the premise that somehow that's an actual legitimate question.
For the first time in my journalistic career, I have actually heard an illegitimate question. All right, put up the picture for mass. Yeah, so we have an update on Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson being investigated by the Department of Justice, by the way. The mayor was confronted by a far-right reporter at a press conference who posed the question why he was a racist. The mayor did not even flinch when the reporter attacked him. Here is what led up to the question.
Real Chicagoans woke up this morning relieved that the Department of Justice is finally investigating your race hustle. As someone who grew up on the south side of Chicago, I've heard a lot of race hustlers in my life, trust me, but they were usually marching around outside of City Hall, which is what makes this so embarrassing and dangerous. Very, very dangerous to the city of Chicago.
Okay, we need the question.
I'm more than happy to ask this question. It's long overdue. For over a year, real Chicagoans, white and black, have been telling me that your black power rhetoric is bringing the city backwards from a place that
we need the question.
Had overcome. You want the question?
Please.
Real Chicagoans want to know, why are you a racist?
Well, first of all, I reject the idea and the premise that somehow that's an actual legitimate question.
Man, you need to go back to whatever journalism training camp you came from, sir. That was horrible. Not well done, not well played. We have bigots that we provide opportunity for them to present their information, their evidence. We allow bigots platform to challenge the notion that they provide. Sir, you had all that lead up, and your question, why are you racist? Come on, man. Put him up. We'll mask. We're gonna have to deal with you, sir. All right? You are a surrogate for the most modern racist administration in the United States of America. You gotta get your bigotry up. You gotta get your bigotry up. Those kind of questions, sir, simple, flatlined. Marjorie Taylor Greene could have come up with a better one. That's not a compliment. That was independent reporter William J. Kelly, who, funny enough, previously ran for mayor himself of Chicago. And he ran for governor. He lost, okay, both times. Accused Johnson of being a racist on Monday, the department. You got to give it up to the mayor for not saying, didn't you run for this same job? Huh? You got to give it up to the mayor for just being just a pro. All right, so on Monday, the Department of Justice announced that it had launched an investigation into the city of Chicago's hiring practices. The purpose of the investigation, the statement read, was to, quote, to determine whether it has engaged in a pattern or practice of racial discrimination in violation of Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. Now, I want to remind you, they're utilizing the Civil Rights Act to say that the Chicago mayor has discriminated against white people. Okay, so understand the premise of the argument. And also, this same Justice Department decided to drop charges against the New York mayor, even though they had secured evidence, they had secured the investigative dynamics to move forward with prosecution. They dropped it because he was willing to work with them on immigration, let's put it that way. It's very sad, isn't it? Now, the mayor's response, so here's a refresher, the mayor's response. Yeah, the original remarks. Let's go to the original remarks of Johnson. Here it is.
Some detractors that will push back on me and say, the only thing that the mayor talks about is the hiring of black people. No, what I'm saying is when you hire our people, we always look out for everybody else. We are the most generous people on the planet. I don't know too many cultures that have play cousins. That's how generous we are. We just make somebody a family member, right? That's just how we are. And so business and economic neighborhood development, the deputy mayor is a black woman. Department of Planning and Development is a black woman. Infrastructure deputy mayor is a black woman. Chief operations officer is a black man. Budget director is a black woman. Senior advisor is a black man.
Over 90% of the cities in the United States of America, their top 5 city employees are white people. Okay, there's no investigation into that at all, none. The mayor's response, quote, I reject the premise that somehow that your question has any legitimacy. Thank you for your time. He claims to be the mayor on the street, whatever the hell that means. So William J. Kelly, mayor on the street. And so we fixed a logo for him. William J. Kelly, failed mayor candidate on the street. And I'm gonna add to the bottom, still asking dumbass questions. So we'll update that in post. All right, Reecie, thoughts here?
Well, first of all, the biggest race hustlers in this country are white Republicans. They just don't want to acknowledge the fact that white is a race. They think that whiteness is the default of who people are, but white is a race. White is an identity as well that has been weaponized to the detriment of even white people. We're seeing that what's unfolded in this big, ugly ass bill, okay? So the fact that people try to put the so-called identity politics and race politics on Black people, when that is the only thing that has kept Republicans getting elected over and over and over again is racism, is absurd. But I appreciate that Mayor Johnson is not backing down on this. And it's disgusting to hear of a pattern and practice investigation against the hiring that mirrors the demographics of Chicago, because be clear, the percentages in the mayor's office and in the city employees mirrors the population, which had been underrepresented in prior administrations in terms of leadership roles. The same week that this administration has undone the work that pattern and practices investigations resulted in terms of consent decrees in Minneapolis and Memphis, or investigations in Memphis and consent decrees in Phoenix and in Louisville, they don't care about pattern and practices of discrimination. They don't care about harm that's happening. They only care about manufacturing crises and so-called reverse racism against white people so that they can keep their stranglehold on positions that these white folks did not earn them. The Black people did.
Very well said. Very well said. All right, we got more on the other side. Indisputable stick and stay.
Indisputable, exclusive, disputable, exclusive. We brought you this first. No other news agency has this video. No other news agency has this story.
Every week on Indisputable, we do original, exclusive, investigative reporting you'll find nowhere else.
Our reports have been viewed by millions. Hosted by Sean King, Ben Crump, Senator John Ossoff.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
We catching these cases on camera. Just imagine the things that we don't see.
Our groundbreaking investigations and exclusive interviews bring you the real voices no one else wants you to hear. We tell the stories.
Imagine a prison that is so racist, the corrections officers contact me. That is a life or death situation being created. A Black woman who was driving for Uber was allegedly assaulted by a white male passenger. After we got involved, roughly 24 hours later, the police all of a sudden opened up an investigation. What was going through your mind when bullets were simply flying inside of your vehicle?
Honestly, I thought I was going to die.
Did these officers ever say that you fit the description of somebody they were looking for? Did they say that?
Never.
Okay, that means they lied.
And we want you to be part of our truth-telling movement. Send pictures and video of stories no one else is telling and a 1 or 2 paragraph summary of the story to Indisputable's exclusive tip line at indvideos@tyt.com.
If you have more information about what's happening at this particular facility, please let me know.
Together, we're challenging the system, and together, we're making a difference.
I have the entire background to this story, and it is going to make your blood boil.
Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, unveiling the truth, empowering the people. Weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. Let me read a few comments by Chicago Mayor. So A.K.A says, real Chicagoan right here. I call cap on this reporter being from the South Side of Chicago. I didn't want to say that. I'm glad somebody from Chicago said it though. All right, and J_B1, nobody in Chicago knows this Kelly guy. It looks like it's universal here. All right, well, here we go. Slavery and civil rights exhibits removed from the Blacksonian. Here's the info from NBC News.
Decades-old artifacts related to slavery and civil rights are rotating out of exhibits at the museum as a potential White House review looms large. In late March, President Trump signed an executive order demanding, in part, the museum take down any exhibits that, quote, divide Americans based on race. But now the White House says that it's washing its hands of any involvement in changes at the museum. NBC News went inside the museum and found at least 32 artifacts currently removed, including Harriet Tubman's Book of Hymns. Gospels believed to have been sung as she led enslaved people to freedom through the Underground Railroad. And the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, the memoir of one of the most important leaders in the abolitionist movement. Both items gifted to the Smithsonian. The institution pushing back on critics, saying on their website, quote, claims that objects have been removed for reasons other than adherence to standard loan agreements or museum practices are false.
So damn sad. Put it up full mass. They are not removing artifacts. They are removing historical context and information. Keep that picture up. The same individuals who have engaged in this crusade to remove historical artifacts of strong Black leaders who were able to properly contextualize the moment of their era and lead individuals to a more progressive era. They're being removed, but these same individuals removing them would argue that a city government does not have the right to remove a racist-ass Confederate monument. They don't believe that divides the nation. They would tell you that's history and the government should fund it. But when it comes to Black leaders who stood for morality and justice, and let's be honest, the morality of Black folk have made this country what it is, the superpower that it became, and the potential that still rests inside of it. Without the morality of Black folk, what would America be? You probably don't even want to think about that. Without the movement of King and others, what would this country be? According to News One, amidst President Trump's flurry of executive orders targeting civil rights and Black history, concerns are growing over exhibits being rotated out of the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture. According to NBC News, certain artifacts and exhibits detailing the history of slavery and the civil rights movement are being rotated out amid a potential review by the White House. In March, President Trump signed the, quote, Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History executive order that, among many other things, requires museums to remove exhibits that showcase, quote, improper ideology. Now, I want you to know he's keeping these terms very loose, very subjective intentionally. He did the same thing with the Republican National Committee. When he hijacked it, the first thing they did was they rooted out all of the definites, all of the exacting language, and replaced it with very loose, subjective, interpretive clauses. Why? Because he doesn't want to be bound to very specific anything, nothing. He wants to operate in this area. NBC News went inside the museum and found at least 32 artifacts. Now that's at least 32 artifacts that were once on display have now been removed. They include Harriet Tubman's Book of Hymns, filled with gospels that she is believed to have sung as she led enslaved people to freedom through the Underground Railroad, as well as a cloth made by enslaved people and a photo of the hip hop group Public Enemy. Also removed was the, quote, narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, the memoir by one of the most important leaders in the abolition movement. Both items were gifted to the Smithsonian. Both the White House and the National Museum of African American History and Culture pushed back against the idea that these removals were a result of the executive order. White House spokesperson issued a statement saying, quote, "The White House had no involvement in removing any exhibit from the National Museum of African American History and Culture or any other Smithsonian institution. They did this on their own accord," end quote. Though when one considers that the former director of the museum left as a result of the executive order, and that both Chief Justice John Roberts and Vice President J.D. Vance sit on the damn Smithsonian board, it doesn't entirely pass muster, does it? Those who loaned the items to the museum also aren't entirely convinced that the return was not politically motivated. Let's go to it. Liz Breselton, the owner of a diary connected to the Oscar-winning film 12 Years a Slave, is not convinced either. She gave one of her great-great-grandfather's diaries to the museum in September 2015 on a 10-year loan. The museum sent her a letter in March before the end of the term saying, quote, "We have decided to move ahead with the return a bit early to coincide with our internal gallery rotation schedule." The letter, was sent to 2 weeks before Trump signed the executive order targeting exhibits at the Smithsonian, which once again raised a red flag. The removal of these items comes as the Trump administration has repeatedly made attacks on free speech, DEI initiatives, and Black history. In April, the National Park Service came under scrutiny after it removed the story of Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad from multiple exhibits. They eventually restored the exhibits after national outcry. You all were part of that. We covered it from day one. But the fact that they even had the audacity to try it should tell you everything about where this administration's priorities are. As a result of the executive order and leadership changes at the museum was the site of the, quote, Hands Off Our History rally earlier this month. The executive order, along with other moves by the Trump administration, also spurred legislation from Democratic lawmakers to protect civil rights landmarks and on the National Register from being sold. Because, of course, the Trump administration, they tried to do that also. Listen, for those of you who come to Atlanta sometimes or looking to come to Atlanta to go to the King exhibit, right? Go check out the great historical King Center. That's a federal place. It's bound by federal rules. It is federally funded. If they take all of these things away, why couldn't they start coming after those? You see, this is systematic. These individuals don't simply go to the policy limit. They then create a new policy after they've maxed out that limit. And this is the game. All right, Reecie, this is so sad. Thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, the Smithsonian is one of my favorite. It's actually my favorite place in DC because it is gorgeous, it is powerful, it is comprehensive. And it just has such a huge impact that it's no surprise that they are doing what they're doing. I don't buy at all that there isn't some sort of political pressure here, even if they aren't directly dictating which specific artifacts need to be moved. We've seen a pattern throughout this administration where people comply with things in advance, or they comply, or they try to make some provisions in the hopes that they curry favor with this administration. Yep. For instance, with Muriel Bowser ripping up the Black Lives Matter mural on Black Lives Matter Place. I don't even know what it's called anymore. So the fact that they put political pressure on them, it does not allow them to say that they have not had an impact or they haven't had a hand in this. And we've seen them, news broke this week about how they revoked $500,000 in grant funding from the Boston African American History Museum. They've also revoked funding for other Black museums or exhibits around the country. And so this administration has been very clear that they are attacking any kind of education and institutions that engage in education around this issue. But this should not be a surprise, because this same president, before he left, established a 1776 commission, and he declared war on any kind of education around slavery or Jim Crow and all of the impacts from slavery. So this is par for the course for him, but we have to make sure that we keep our history alive.
That's right, and that's my encouragement to everyone who's watching. You, me, we have to become much more intentional about proper, accurate, historical, and relevant education for our youth. And if you don't have kids, find some. Volunteer somewhere. There are opportunities to do this. We'll bring updates as they come. Indisputable, stick and stay.
Every day, the Young Turks delivers 2 hours of solid, fact-based, timely news and progressive commentary on all the day's most important stories. We keep our viewers informed while also providing perspective and insight on the news we cover, so you understand not only what's happening, but also what's happening behind the scenes, the stories behind the stories.
We play musical chairs and put these children in one awful detention facility to the next. That's what's happening at the border.
The things that got him banned, he's still spreading. So presumably, I think it's reasonable to say that if you allow him back on the website, he's going to do it again.
Any legal voter that we deem not willing to vote for my side shouldn't vote because it'll replace me that's supposed to vote for my side. That's not how voting works. That's not how democracy works.
And while many people following today's political news can get discouraged about the direction of the nation and the world, that's not us. At TYT, we're genuinely optimistic about the future, and with good reason. Today, wide majorities of Americans agree with our progressive stances on issues ranging from healthcare and education to climate, immigration, and wages. The rising generation of young people are also overwhelmingly progressive in their political beliefs and policy objectives, and they're increasingly flexing their muscle as voters and activists to demand change from our elected officials. The traditional mainstream media is mostly AWOL. They, along with the government and many other cherished institutions, have been captured by corporate interests. Audiences sense that they're not getting the whole story or even the truth from once trusted outlets, whether broadcasting cable TV news networks or national newspapers and magazines. The antidote is the Young Turks. Unlike mainstream corporate outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to Big Pharma, and we don't carry water for the Republican or Democratic parties. So watch us Monday to Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and join the thousands of progressives around the globe who tune in every day for TYT's unmatched, award-winning content and see what it's like to experience a news organization that only answers to you.
Cenk Uygur is not here today, which means that I will be able to talk during the show. Now,
we'll see.
Poor Cenk, under the bus.
My God, if Jesus came back, how much would the Republicans hate him? Now you have to give away all of your possessions to the poor. Steve King would be like, oh, Weezy. Everyone should be lucky enough to have a John Iadarola in their life.
You confused everyone?
Okay, sorry, I thought it was pretty clear.
Take a break now.
You can turn me to Dr. Manhattan as long as I get what Dr. Manhattan's packing, okay? The liberal mom says, Mark Thompson, have you ever thought about doing one of those tapes that soothe people to sleep? Like Mark Thompson reads the phone book. I'd buy it.
If you'll buy it, I'll do it.
Emilio D'Amelio writes in, John, you are so thick. I love you. That's what he wrote.
Pork Chop Express writes in and says John Iadarola needs a new jacket.
Whoa.
Those 24-inch pythons are about to burst out of his sleeve.
Gun, baby. You know, the two people here said that their moms were both in love with you over Beauty and the Beast.
Mm-hmm. That's an improvement. I usually get grandmothers.
Charlie Turk.
No, wait a minute, don't you dare.
Chemical castration when we return from the break.
I hope that, who they choose for the White House
isn't just a borderline Klansman. That's all we gotta hope.
That a Ferrari?
Yes, I'm getting to that.
Why wouldn't I want to be on a show with you guys?
You obviously have very scrupulous and discerning listeners in your audience.
Did Anna comment on my tan yet? No, she hasn't.
You're a good boss.
But Anna did say that I come in here today with a fresh mind. That's all I'm about. I'm about a fresh mind.
I can't with you right now.
She just can't. She can't, but nonetheless, we have to for another 3 hours. I'm back, baby. Let's rip into Republicans. See, don't miss the live show.
That's great.
Tell people, if you're a member, you get the whole live show whenever you want, because this stuff doesn't go into any of the clips.
Let's get it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bullpen. We've been talking about this since day one. I'm taking you to Tennessee, where Elon Musk AI company may be lying and not providing full information as it relates to adverse conditions created for the locals. The person who has been outspoken about this, none other than the incomparable leader representing District 86, Mr. Justin J. Pearson. Representative Pearson, it's good to have you on the program, sir. How are you?
I'm glad to be here, and we're in the fight, and we got another day in this movement for justice rooted in love, and so I'm doing all right.
Amen to that. We're going to go to your contextualization of it and then get into this interview. Here it is.
Ted Townsend is the CEO of the Greater Memphis Chamber, and he has been the biggest proponent of XAI polluting our community and hurting our community more than anybody else. And we just got to go through this. Let's unpack these comments. First of all, we're not talking about there being instances of environmental injustice. We are talking about a decades-long history of environmental racism and environmental injustice happening in Memphis and Shelby County, particularly in the 38109 community, where there are over 17 toxic release inventory facilities. We're talking about a community where the cancer rate is 4.1 times the national average, and where people like Ted Townsend continue to invite industry into our communities, polluting our air, polluting our water, polluting our lungs without our consent and without our permission. Next, he's out here saying that they're doing above and beyond what's expected of them. Lying to us? Let's talk about the fact that they said there are going to be 15 gas turbines there, but we were able to find, with the work of the Southern Environmental Law Center, that there are actually 35, and we're able to take thermal images of at least 33 of those in operation. What's expected of them? They're going above and beyond. The expectations that people like Ted Townsend, the Memphis Chamber, and too many leaders have had is that our lives are not valuable and do not deserve protecting.
In a previous show, Representative Pearson, we were able to provide the imagery of those photos that clearly indicated that activity was taking place well beyond the restriction that was allegedly adhered to. So tell the audience, man, what's happening in the area?
Yeah, I mean, we are facing one of the most significant environmental racism, environmentally racist and environmentally unjust projects that are happening in the United States of America, led by the richest man in the world, Elon Musk, and his company XAI. And just today, we got information that he's actually using this chatbot, Grok, in his position and in his role with Dodge, using our private personal information and a supercomputer that's being powered here and polluting the air and the lungs of the people in our community to perpetuate his very harmful agenda. And so a year ago in June, he built this company, XAI, and brought it to Memphis with elected leaders signing NDAs. No one knew about the project except those people who had signed those NDAs. And then we learned that he's going to power it, not with clean energy, not with solar, not with wind or anything like that, but with gas turbines, of all things. And we get told it's only going to be 15 and they're going to use them temporarily. And they're able to do that because of some code within the Clean Air Act that allows them to. Our attorneys looked at that and told them that's illegal, and the Shelby County Health Department needs to step in. The Shelby County Health Department refused to. The mayor, Paul Young, actually started to tout the exact same talking points of the chamber in XAI. And another mayor has been silent for this entire time until yesterday, where he said that he had no reason, that's Lee Harris, no reasons to be concerned, despite the fact that thousands upon thousands of people are saying our loved ones are dying from cancer, despite the fact that the research says that if this facility is producing the level of pollution that it says it is based on the technology that they do have and the gas turbines, it's more nitrogen oxides than the Memphis International Airport. It's 17.2 tons of formaldehyde, right, that is being pumped into the air. And we've already faced so many problems in our community due to the toxic release inventory facilities that surround us, from Nucor Steel to Valero Oil Refinery to the Tennessee Valley Authority. So they're perpetuating a harm, and we're standing up and fighting against it.
I want us to understand the geography a little more. When I first reported on this, obviously the point that was compelling to me, do you really believe that Elon Musk chose that area because he just loves the people of that community? No. Historically, individuals like him have chosen areas where they can either A, buy people off, and or B, get away with it without much pushback from individuals around them. So tell us about the area and also how it has already created harm.
I mean, you are spot on, and I can't prove number one, but the way that our elected leaders are operating, it does look like they have sold us out, and that they somehow are getting some benefit that I don't know about. I can't prove the corruption, but it just doesn't make sense. Why is the mayor of Memphis privately meeting with church leaders trying to push this project? They weren't meeting with church leaders before they brought it, and they're doing this all in secret with the Chamber of Commerce. Why is the other mayor saying he has no cause for concern when he's the one responsible for protecting the public health of the people here, and is literally over the Shelby County Health Department, which is responsible for air quality monitoring? And there's no monitoring in this neighborhood of 38109 where I actually live. There is no protection of the air quality of the people here. And there is a consistency of allowing the Chamber of Commerce to operate as the go-between and as the voice of the community, instead of the people who've been in elected positions to do that work. And so something's awry and amiss here. And the foundations and principles of democracy, right, require people who are in elected positions in particular, and those who are appointed, to do what's in the best interest of the people. But Elon Musk chose Memphis because he found people who were willing to be exploited, right, in the elected office and in the appointed offices, who weren't going to push back, who weren't going to ask more questions, who weren't going to look at more research, who weren't going to listen to the people. But they don't know our community. Right? 5 years ago, $2 billion corporations came into this very neighborhood and said, we're going to build a multi-billion-dollar pipeline, and there's nothing that you can do about it. That pipeline got canceled 9 months later, because our community is resilient, our community is brilliant, and we are powerful even when those who are in positions of power misuse it, abuse it, or do not wield it in a way to our benefit, but wield it against us.
You know, this is a really ironic a business move. And I say this because of the surface understanding of AI, Elon Musk. So the guy who has the electric car is the same guy running the company with the gas turbines, having produced more than the accepted amount of emission from that area, lying about it allegedly and being caught in that lie. Why so much power is required? That's my first question. Why so much power for something like this? And second, why not utilize an alternative energy source if you have access to it?
Exactly. I mean, these are the brilliant questions that our elected leaders were supposed to ask. Right? How do you have the least possible impact on this community, particularly because we have a legacy of polluters taking advantage of our air, of our water, and of our soil, and leaving our communities broken, leaving our families shattered by loved ones who've been lost from cancer, and communities in debt due to medical bills, due to COPD. We have more kids who miss school from this zip code than any other zip code in the city. We have more people who have respiratory and asthma-related illnesses who are hospitalized in Shelby County than any other county in the state of Tennessee. These things are not accidental. They are not incidental. They are the consequence of decisions that continue to decide whose life, whose lungs have more value. And if you happen to live in 38109, if you are Black, if you are lower wealth, then this community is being disempowered and disinvested in by those who otherwise might do something and could do something to prevent this from happening. But your next question is really important. Why not use renewable resources? Why not use cleaner energy? It seems somewhat antithetical to who Elon Musk has said that he is as it relates to, I want to do things that help the environment. But he doesn't care when it comes to Black communities, when it comes to lower wealth communities in particular, because he says that I can take the fines, I can mistreat the people, or I can convince their elected leaders to do the mistreating of them. I can convince their elected leaders to disregard their lives, to ignore their pleas, their cries, their hollers, their research, their science. And it's a horrible situation that we find ourselves in for the richest man in the world, who does not give a single care about this community at all, has created relationship and partnership with the people who are swore on Bibles and a constitution with an oath of office to protect that very community.
Representative Pearson, what are your allies in the elected position saying? What are your allies in the community saying?
I mean, a lot of elected officials are speaking up and standing up alongside me to say we need to act, and that Mayor Paul Young and Mayor Lee Harris need to do something. One of the realities is we have 2 Black mayors in positions of power, which is what many people fought and died for this type of power to exist in Black communities and in Black folks' hands. But they are wielding it in a way that is harmful to Black people. And holding them accountable, just as we would hold anybody else accountable, is part of our responsibility and part of our work. It isn't good enough for us to be in position, and then once we are in position, we get the exact same results as if other people were in office. And so, but other elected leaders are speaking up, want to push for legislation at the state level, at the local level as well to defend our community. And they are reaching out and calling out the mayors and Director Taylor to do something, to deny the 15 gas turbine permit that is out there, and to demand that these turbines, the other ones that are operating, all of these operating illegally and unconstitutionally, that they be shut off and shut down. And then the community is amazing. Westwood, Walker Homes, West Junction, Boxtown, Mallory Heights, people in Midtown, people in Uptown, people in the suburbs are all saying we share the same air. Yeah. We share the same air. Isn't the point where it just stops? And that's what we have to realize.
That's right. That's right. For those who are watching this, Representative, they live in that community, or maybe they don't live in that community, but they want to help. What can people do?
Thank you so much for asking that question. Join us. Go to votejustinj.com and join our movement. Put your name, your phone number, your email. Send me a note and let me know if you're interested. I send a few emails every couple of weeks just to give people updates on what we're doing and how we are organizing. But we're going to need more people to reach out to our elected officials and show them this isn't just a Memphis problem. This is a national problem. This is a global problem. The neo-colonization of data centers is going to come in your community. And if you are Black, African American, or poor or low wealth, you're already 75% more likely to have hazardous materials and waste facilities in your community. And so this is our issue. And it isn't hugging trees, it's asthma pumps. It's CPAP machines, right? It's hospital visits that we have to recognize and realize are disproportionately impacting us. And it's time to hold people accountable.
Dear brother, give out that website again for us.
VoteJustinJ.com.
Brother, thank you for coming on the show. We're going to bring you back, obviously. We appreciate all that you do, your continued leadership. We'll always be supportive of us, and you have a free and fair opportunity to come here anytime.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Always glad to be in the bullpen.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother. All right. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.